So as I was prepping for the next video in the series, I noticed that I had a little bit of an error in my terminal from the last video that I made, which was when we installed Emotion. And I thought that this would be a good opportunity to show how I would go about troubleshooting that, aside from just, Googling around forever. Some interesting troubleshooting methods that you can do. In particular, this is a Gatsby plugin. And so I wanted to show how you can look at some of the source code for plugins to get a gist of what the plugins you're installing are doing and what's going on under the hood there. And perhaps if you want to, make your own plugin someday, you'll be a little bit better informed that it's easier than you might think. And there's some cool stuff that you can do with some very simple hooks that Gatsby exposes to you. So what I'm going to do in this one is just troubleshoot that. And if you're not interested in that, feel free to skip along in this video. It's not going to hinder learning the next video. But if you are interested, let's get into troubleshooting that. Okay, so here we are taking a look at my server running here. This is right after I just had Emotion installed. And when I ran it, I noticed that I got this, your plugins must export known APIs from their Gatsby Node.js. And they give you a little bit of information about that, which is kind of cool. But in particular, we're looking at this, the plugin Gatsby Plugin-emotion is using the API plugin option schema, which is not available in your version of Gatsby. So I definitely would normally Google this error in general and kind of dig around. But another way to kind of troubleshoot that and go about this is to pop over here into our browser and look at the docs for what we're installing. And typically, when you're installing a plugin, it will tell you where the origin repo is. This one's actually a guide, so it doesn't, but we could just do a search for Gatsby plugin-emotion. And let's see, troubling. Oh, that's kind of interesting. That might be of interest to us, but in particular, really looking for this Gatsby plugin-emotion, and you might just have to kind of click your way around here. Okay, and here we go, Gatsby plugin-emotion. And then here we can see this view plugin on GitHub. And I'm wondering if they have an actual categories here that you can get to this point, because yeah, we have Gatsby plugins. Oh, okay. So if we were to click plugins and then go here, we could just probably type in emotion. And that seems like a much better way to find what I'm looking for. Okay, cool. So there you go. That's how you can do that. And then view plugin on GitHub. So when we dig into this, we'll notice that it takes us to a repo, and they've got a README, and that's probably going to be shown on the Gatsby docs. And we could actually see if it's just taking it right from that options. It looks like it might be just reading that README file. It's got all the same content. So that's kind of interesting, huh? But when we look here at the files, we can see a familiar, package JSON. We could take a look, of course, and see, this is probably a little bit small, but what all they have installed. You can see they've got Babel, and then we have the preset Gatsby package for Babel. And what else do we have? That looks like that's about it. Dependencies, the runtime, and then an emotion plugin for that preset CSS problem. Okay, it's just kind of good to know what they're installing in general. But we've got our README, we've got our changelog, which of course is cool, but we're not interested in that at the moment. We've got this npm ignore, git ignore, and then this is interesting. We do actually have this Babel config here, and it sets up Babel preset Gatsby package. Okay, so this kind of looks like it's some sort of a supplemental thing for creating maybe Gatsby plugins or Gatsby packages. I'm not actually familiar with that one. But if we dig into the source, that's usually where you're going to want to head. And if you come in here, it's kind of interesting. It's just a test folder, which is cool. They got tests. And a Gatsby Node.js. So that's interesting, isn't it? That, we just have this one Gatsby Node file. We don't have a whole Gatsby project or anything like that. And it might make you wonder, how does this even work? Like, how does it expose it? There's no general index to import, export, or whatever. And the way that Gatsby plugins work are pretty cool. They do this kind of sort of a concatenation or smashing together of files. So if it's going to have Gatsby browser, things that it does in the Gatsby browser.js file. That's the file that you'll see here with the same name. And then when you, in your project, let's dig over to here, you can see when I set up plugins here, I have this Gatsby plugin-emotion. And when I do that, what it's going to do, as long as that package is actually installed, is go ahead and set this up and run this Gatsby Node.js in addition to whatever Gatsby Node.js you might have. So just kind of a quick overview of that. But when we get into here, you can see we have this onCreate Babel config. Now, these are all things that you could do. If you were to copy and paste this into your own Gatsby Node.js file, you could run the exact same operations that this thing is doing. And you'd, of course, have to have any packages that it uses. But outside of that, that's generally how that works. And, just try to kind of demystify that a little bit of what's going on there. Feel free to try it out yourself. So when I look into this, we in particular, we're kind of looking for this, the plugin Gatsby Plugin-emotion is using the API plugin options schema. So I might just do a search on the entire repo, or I will come into, the place where I know that the code is being loaded and, search for this plugin option schema or whatever. And there it is. Let's see, is that the same? Yeah, plugin option schema. So it seems like this is probably either outdated or new. That's what I would guess, just from their, not available in your version of Gatsby. Kind of seems kind of common sense there. Now, I've actually never seen this plugin option schema before. So if I take a look at it, I want to see if I can kind of deduce what's going on here. I don't know what this JOI actually is, but it does seem like this is kind of familiar to me to kind of like a CLI interface or other types of maybe like form libraries that automatically set up types through chaining of methods. And this one looks like, okay, source map, auto label, label format, CSS prop optimization. Okay. And then you've got a default value, and then you have a description, this option. Okay, cool. And that seems to be true for all of them. This is kind of an interesting one. This default is like, okay, do you have to pass an array of things, or is that actually what you want to pass? I'm kind of curious about that. And then what you might notice here is that there's this plugin options. This is plugin option schema. And then the top here on this onCreate Babel config, which is sort of like a hook that you can, I don't know if that's the right term for it, but a way that you can hook into the Gatsby lifecycle and say, hey, while you're setting up Babel, I want to add this. So you can add this actions set Babel preset. And this is all in documentation. If you ever get into that, you can do like Webpack customization and such. But you can notice that we're getting this plugin options value as the second argument here. And that plugin options is kind of passing along, or in this case, it's spreading. Okay, so you have a conditional spread here to spread plugin options or an empty object, if it exists or not. Okay, so, that makes me think, if we were to go back to where they show setting it up, we should see those same keys if that's what we assume it is doing. Okay, yeah, source map, auto label. Oh, yeah, see, here's our familiar variable. So that is actually what they want you to pass in. I was wondering if that was some sort of strange array of properties, or if that actually was meant to literally be this typed. Okay, the label format, the CSS prop optimization. All right, so it looks like we can make a pretty sturdy guess here that is what's going on. So this looks like just a way to probably set up the options that your Gatsby plugin is going to take, and with that to set some defaults and some descriptions. And I'm going to guess that if it were actually supported in our version, if we jump over to this terminal, if we weren't getting this error here, we might actually get some feedback if we don't fill it in, or we fill it in wrong or something like that. Okay. So what that tells us is we might need to update to a new version of Gatsby or a new version of this plugin. Now, rather than just kind of stabbing in the dark and guessing, what we could do is see, when was this file last changed? Well, it looks like there was a commit, this commit, 13 days ago in this file. So let's go take a look at that commit here. and see what all changed. And if we see, okay, so the README was updated. And if we see those being added, as we do, we can pretty safely guess that this is a brand new PR, brand new functionality. 13 days ago. Okay, cool. So it looks like they're trying to take advantage of a newer Gatsby version. So what I would then do actually is just try to update my Gatsby. So if we go over to VS Code, we look at our version. We want to look at the package.json to see what general version we're installing, 2.24.51. But we'd also probably want to take a look at our yarn lock, and you could do something like at Gatsby. We don't have an at Gatsby, huh? Gatsby at version. Oh, okay. Yeah, because they're not scoped packages. I'm being an idiot. Okay, so Gatsby at 2.24.51, and then it's actually installed 2.24.57. So it's kind of gone up a few minors. So let's do this then. Let's shut down our server. I already did. And do yarn add, because we want it as a, actual dependency, Gatsby. Now you could do Gatsby at latest if you really want to make sure you get the current one, but typically this will be enough. I'll try this first just by default. And that was 2.24.57 is what we had. Okay, 2.24.57, and it looks like we had a change here. My stuff moved around, so I'm gonna have to find that again. Gatsby at, and you want it to be at this root level because it could be a dependency of something else. 2.24.89. So we've gone up quite a few patches. All right. So now let's see if we do yarn. I think we had it as serve to do Gatsby build and serve. Let's see if we get that error again. I think we got it right at the beginning, so it doesn't look like it looks like we're in the clear here. Let me go up here a little bit, and yeah, it was after success open and validate Gatsby configs. So we'll scroll back down here. Open and validate Gatsby configs. So it looks like they were validated. Cool. Okay. So that seems to have, gotten rid of that error. It might not have actually been doing anything at all. I don't think it was causing any mayhem, but it's extra noise. You want your build to be clean as much as you can so that when you do get an error, of course, you know that that's the case. So we could wrap up right there. And hopefully that was pretty useful. But before I do, I kind of want to play around here just for just a second and see, okay, well, what does this do exactly? If I go to this config, it looks like I can pass these options, Gatsby plugin-emotion. Let's go back to our browser here, check out the README. Thanks whoever is maintaining this and updating that package. That's really cool. Gosh, it's so zoomed in. It's weird for me. Okay. Plugins, options. So let's just copy this right here and replace our version of this. And I'm just curious, like, what this does. If it is going to give us some, like, hinting or something like that based on what's going on. Okay, why are you mad? Property assignment expected. Is it because we have these... let's get rid of these backticks real quick. Yeah, that seems to be better. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so that's that. I think I'm missing a brace. Seems right, comma. Yeah. Sorry, you're having to watch me be a noob. Okay, CSS prop optimization. What is that? Assumes that you're using something to make emotion core JSX function work for all JSX. If you're not doing so, and you do not want such optimizations to occur, disable this, and it defaults to true. Okay, I guess we could leave that. All right, so what I'll try then first is, let's see what happens if I like make this an empty string. I'm curious because it, when we looked in the actual code of this, how it was set up, we come down here, you notice that CSS prop optimization, it said it was a Boolean. So I'm wondering if we pass a non-Boolean, if we'll get some sort of validation. I'm wondering when we would get this description, or if that's just not even for us. I don't know. Kind of curious though, huh? So we'll run that. I probably could run develop, but it did open and validate configs, and we didn't get any feedback at all. It could be a development thing. Did I do dev or development? I probably did dev. This always changes for me. Develop, of course. You silly goose, you. Yeah, we're not seeming to get anything for not having that option, or, you know, having an option missing there. So perhaps it's just not for us. Source map true. Label format. So let me just get rid of this. All of which are defined by gatsby-plugin-emotion plugin. Okay, that's cool. Oh, what's this? Yes, error. Oh, okay. False alarm here. Let's try one more time. Yeah, we're not getting anything. All right. Well, this is new. That's interesting. I guess I've got yet another issue to look at, but I won't do it in this video. So, you know, that can conclude this. You know, if I wanted to know a little bit more about these, I might start Googling them and see what this whole, let me come over here, this plugin option scheme is all about. You can see if you click it, you know, in my GitHub, I have a way to look at, you know, where it's sourced and all that stuff. But I just do some searches, look around by that name. But as of right now, you know, I've only got so much mental bandwidth, so I'm not going to look into it. And then if I see it again, you know, I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I've seen that before in that emotion plugin. You know, maybe I should check that out or whatever. Or if I'm making my own, then, you know, I know what I can do. I know that there's something here in case I'm dabbling around. And that's really why I wanted to show this, is that you should always stay curious. You know, you don't feel like you have to search things to infinity, for one, because it's just overwhelming. You only have, you know, like I said, so much mental bandwidth. But if you can just do a little bit of digging into something when you've got, you know, a tiny bit of extra energy, just do a little spelunking, and don't be afraid to look at the source code there and be like, okay, well, you know, what is this? And when I first look at this, I don't really know what's going on. I still don't really know what's going on. I have some assumptions that I can infer, and you just get a little bit better at that the more that you do it. So it's just a good habit to get into. Even if you walk away feeling like you didn't really learn anything, I assure you, you did. You got some background processing, you got some exposure, and it will, you know, continue to be a skill that you build up as you move along. And it'll make you, in this instance, more familiar with the Gatsby ecosystem in general and plugins and stuff, so that you can troubleshoot errors yourself instead of Googling around for errors for hours. But it'll help you out in that way, because you'll be able to just look right at the code, and a lot of times you'll find some answers really quickly, if not on the GitHub issues. So that's enough of me rambling, and hopefully this video was interesting, helpful, maybe just a little bit insightful as to, like, you know, how someone who has done this for a while might go about trying to troubleshoot a random error that they're getting, aside from just Googling it. See you next time.